Oh,
Is he here?
he is here, our friend Jacopo Larcher.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello. Good, you?
I'm good. I think Vladek is as well.
Yep.
So, Jacopo, you don't have like a bad cold or anything?
No, I have like a it's not like a herniated disc, but I have like
Oh shit.
do you mean for the story that I did before?
Yeah, I saw the story with this like sick, whatever. Yeah.
No, I was like a sad face, for like my shape because I started
Okay.
climbing again after 1 month of rest, and
Yeah.
it felt kind of bad, and it's frustrating after all the winter training for nothing. But yeah, that's life.
So how come you rested for a month?
Because I injured my neck, or like injured my
yeah.
neck. Yeah, well,
shit.
I did like a trip to a knot. I think it was 1 month ago, and just before the trip, like while training, I felt something wrong in my neck, and I thought it was just like kind of like some muscular problem. And sometimes I have it, and it takes like 3 days to recover. But this time was different, and I lost completely power in my left arm, and like my hand got numb for like 2-3 weeks. And so I just got an MRI actually yesterday, and it's a problem with the nerve in the neck. I have like 2 discs which they're not herniated, but like they just like press on the nerve on the spine, and getting old.
Oh shit.
Well,
no, don't mention the war. Come on.
For how long do you have to rest now, or?
I started climbing again like 1 week ago, maybe something like that. I can't really train, but I can start like bouldering and climbing outside. Just have to keep it easy, like don't push too hard, and like after climbing I have this kind of stiff neck and sometimes like headache, and doesn't feel great, but it's improving, so it's good.
That's so difficult though, to climb or boulder, but not climb too hard. Like how do you do that?
That's hard, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was easier, when I just had to completely rest, because it was clear.
Yeah.
And I think, as a climber, when you get to climb again, you have an injury, you always want to test like
Yes.
how far you can go, and sometimes you go a bit too far. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Most of the time.
yeah, it's also like kind of a new injury for me, because I'm really lucky. Like I've never had many injuries, but I used to have a lot of finger injuries, so I kind of know how to deal with those. And this was something like really, really new for me.
Yeah, when it's nerves, it's totally different, right? It's not muscular, it's or tendons. It's hard to do much about it in a way. It feels
Yeah,
like in a way.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. You basically just have to rest. It was a really weird feeling, because I remember when I first tried to climb, when I realized that I lost like power in my left arm. It's not that I had the feeling that I was like weaker. My arm just simply didn't work. Like I couldn't engage. So it was like such a weird and somehow like scaring feeling for me. But yeah.
I guess that's the feeling normal climbers have all the time, though.
No, I don't think so. I hope not.
No, that's definitely different. Yeah, I had the same with my leg. So yeah.
I also know that feeling really well, when you want to like reach a bit further or like block a bit like deeper and it doesn't work. But you normally feel that the muscle doesn't work. But that's something different.
I know.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were on your way to a knot, but you didn't go, I guess, then.
No, I went, and it was like on my way back then it happened. So
really?
I had
Okay.
this like little injury just like the day before leaving, but it didn't affect much my climbing, honestly. Like I stayed there, I think 1 week, 10 days, and it was just like I just had this stiff neck while driving, like sleeping, but it didn't affect the climbing. And on I think the second last day, I tried a lot, like one move, a really like reachy and powerful move, and felt good. I felt good on it. And the next day, I went back to the same move, and I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I had this feeling of having like zero power. So I thought, okay, it was just like, I just climbed too much the day before, and the trip was anyway coming to an end. So I drove back home, and back home I realized that the problem wasn't that I tried the move too much. It was just something wrong with, I first thought with my shoulder, and then I realized it was something different. Yeah.
Right. And for context, you went to Anot to try Bon Voyage, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was like the big goal of the trip. I did actually 2 trips in the last years. I think 2 years ago, and a really short trip like last year. So I was really psyched to go back and try the route. I trained during winter with that route in my mind. But yeah, I have to wait 1 more year probably.
So the season for Bon Voyage is spring only, or is it autumn as well?
I think it's autumn as well. I've been there once in the spring and once in autumn. But this year the plan is to go back to Yosemite. So I won't be in Europe during fall. So I'll probably go back there next spring, hopefully.
So,
what's your plan in Yosemite?
We would like to try New Dawn. It's like one of the last first ascents that Tommy and Alex did. I think it was like 5 years ago or something like that. That's the idea, but let's see. Every time we get there, then we find something else to do or try. So it's always good to have an idea at the beginning, but then be flexible as well.
Is that how it works when you go to Yosemite, that you have sort of a rough idea what you want to do, but it might be something else depending on like what's I don't know, depending on what, I don't know.
I think it depends. Like every season is a bit different. Like for example, last year we went there with the idea of trying Magic Line. That was the main goal. And the year before, I skipped one season, but the second last time I was there, I went just for track climbing for single pitches. So it was clear. And before, we always wanted to do some longer routes, but we didn't even always have like a route in mind. For example, the first year when we got there, was my first time in the valley, Babsi's second time. And we just wanted to climb something on El Cap, but we didn't know what. And we realized that because we didn't have basically like we weren't good crack climbers at the time. We still aren't, but at the time we really sucked. So we kind of looked for the more, let's say, Euro-friendly route, which happened to be El Nino. So that's how we chose the route there. And then this following year, I had this idea of trying Zodiac, but Babsi wasn't super psyched at the beginning, and then when we got there, we decided to try that one. And then I think the third year was kind of the same. We had 2-3 routes in mind, and then we ended up on Magic Mushroom. And we actually wanted to try the nose, but it was always like back with people. So that's why we postponed, and then we went back once more for the nose, but was packed again, so we did something else.
You mentioned you were shit at crack climbing from the beginning. Is there any sort of big wall style that you feel that you're still not top notch in?
A lot. Off-road climbing is, of course, the one I suck the most and that I enjoy the least. But it was funny. Like last year, because we wanted to prepare for Freerider, we spent some time climbing some off-roads, like in some single pitches and some longer routes. And we almost, I don't want to say too loud, but we almost started to enjoy off-road climbing. So let's see if that's still the case this year.
So
Yeah,
enjoying off-road is just actually realizing that you can handle it.
kind of. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I don't know if you can really enjoy off-road climbing, maybe. But
so what style do you enjoy the most?
jobs on slabs. That's always nice. No, I think like jokes aside, like my favorite style is probably like sustained, like steep, not too steep, but like kind of steep climbing on mostly on crimps. I think that's my my strength. I don't like too much like super technical stuff, but I still enjoy it. And yeah, crack climbing, like finger cracks, and I really like them. Hand cracks, of course, and the wider they get, the worse I get. Yeah.
So is that sort of if I ask you what you enjoy the most, is it also what you're the best at, and sort of, I mean, like what you're the worst at is what you enjoy the least, or could it be something that you appreciate at, but comparably, but you still like?
That's a good question. I think with off-road climbing, it's not only the fact that I really suck at it, it's also that I don't feel it enjoyable. You know, it doesn't feel like flowy. You're like just like grinding. You're like just like kind of sliding through something, moving really slow. It's something that I don't enjoy. It hurts. Like I don't know. Probably because I'm really bad at it. But I don't feel it like flowy. But for
So
example,
flowy.
I really enjoy like slab climbing in like on multi pitches. It's definitely not my strength, but I really enjoy it. I think it's cool. So it's true that when you're good at something, it's easier to enjoy that compared to other stuff maybe you have a hard time with. But yeah, there are definitely like some stuff that I'm not good at that I really like.
But have
Skiing,
you,
for example.
That's nice. It is nice, and also the lunch. Anyway, like so your climbing journey, has it been a constant journey of mastering your weaknesses, you'd say?
At least like trying to. I think what I really like about climbing is the fact that even if it's the same sport, you have so many different aspects. There are so many different disciplines, and I think it's really cool, especially when you do something for a long time. You kind of reach a plateau normally, and the improvement are really like small. And when you always try something new, some disciplines or new aspects of, in this case, of climbing, you can like you can learn faster. You can progress faster, and I think that's something that I really like it. It's something that I really like. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can go completely back. Like, how did it start with climbing actually?
It started like at the gym when I was, I think, 10 years old, thanks to a climbing course at the local gym, which was way different compared to nowadays gyms. I feel old like saying it, but it was this little gym in Bolzano. I think it was one of the first in Italy or in Europe even. And they had for example, like one part of the gym, one half was built with like rocks just brought down from the military, from the Dolomites.
Really?
So yeah, it's crazy. And then one quarter was like still just a concrete wall with some holes, and then the last quarter was like a proper like plywood climbing wall. Yeah, basically, I remember that my dad, he didn't climb at the time, and he came back from one day from like a ski tour in the mountains with his friends who were like part of the Alpine club. and he told me that they were organizing this course, the first like climbing course for kids in that town. And he asked me, or he said, "I'm sure you're not interested in, but if you want, you can, you can participate." And I was like, "Yeah, please, can I?" And that's how I started. I actually broke my finger with the rollerblades just like 1 week before. So I attended the first day of the course with a cast, and I just looked. And yeah, then I think 2 weeks later, I was able to climb my first route. And I remember that probably from the outside, it didn't look like that. It didn't look flowy, but I remember like this feeling of freedom and this flow that I really liked, and I hadn't experienced in any other sports I had tried before. And yeah, in that moment, I realized that that was what I wanted to do, basically. Yeah.
So you have been climbing at the gym at the beginning only, or did you climb outdoor with the like?
Yeah, well, it was like a gym with this outdoor feeling. But no, I mostly climbed at the gym. Also because, as I said, like my parents didn't climb, and they weren't a lot of kids climbing at the time. So the only basically way for climbing was just go to the gym and attend these climbing courses. And then later on, my dad started to climb a bit, just basically for belaying me and share some time with me at the gym. And then pretty much like after probably 1 year, I decided to start competing because I like that had the opportunity to basically travel, to other part of Italy and share this passion with basically with other kids. That was the only way for me to share climbing with other kids, because at the time there were just like 2-3 kids like attending these courses. Yeah, and that's how I got into competition climbing, and I really liked the preparation that competition climbing involves, like all the training. Actually didn't like competing so much, but most like this, just getting ready for the comps. And so I started to spend lots of time at the gym by my own, just training. And I first basically subscribed to all the possible courses just to spend more time at the gym. And then one day it wasn't the gym owner, but like the manager, let's say, he gave me the key of the gym. He was like, don't tell it to anyone, but here the key.
Nice.
And so I started to go sometimes before school or like in the afternoon.
But at this time, even though your parents weren't climbers, say, you were still living in Bolzano, which is like sort of in the Dolomites, sort of in the mountains. Did you have an idea of what climbing was before you actually started climbing?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't really know what sport climbing was. Probably like it was more like I knew more what like Alpine climbing was, and so for me, I had like let's say a blurry vision of climbing,
Yeah.
And then once I started, then I realized that it wasn't exactly what what I just knew. But yeah, definitely like even as a kid, before I started climbing, I used to spend a lot of time in the mountains with my family, and so I was kind of at least like familiar with like the mountain, let's say, environment. Yeah.
Were you a skier as well?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a good skier, but I had skied, and I think I started skiing when I was like 3 years old or something like that with my parents. My dad was really into skiing, so in winter we went every weekend basically skiing, and then I took like a long break from skiing basically when I started climbing, or like when I started competing. I was really just wanted to focus just on that, and I was worried about getting injured. And so for basically 15 years, I completely stopped. And until I realized that it was something that I still really enjoyed and it was important for me, and I started again. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then I
still
got
gonna.
injured.
Yeah. I guess I guess you're still like an 8-day skier.
No, no. But I really enjoy it. Especially in
Yeah.
Now I moved to Freerider, like in Austria. So I live really close to a lot of good ski resorts. So it's easy during winter just to go skiing before climbing or after climbing. So
Right.
it's definitely easier.
Yeah, I noticed you guys you lived you live in Bludenz, right?
Well, we moved a couple of years ago to Björn, which is like 500 meters
Okay, yeah. Anyway.
across
But anyway,
the river.
I didn't realize how close that was. Well, when you say you live in Björn now, so it's obvious. But I mean, it's like a Platte, and it's like it's right there, right?
Yeah, just right here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
Okay,
in front. Yeah, it's just in front of our house, basically.
Yeah.
And also I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there is like a big just sport climbing area, just basically on the opposite side of the slab. There's a lot of good climbing around here, like just around town. I can just walk to the crag, which is nice.
Nice. I have a question about that though. Are there any lines left on the Birse Platte?
So I still have one. It's like Greisibe is like a sporty, like a airy sport climb by Beat. It's on the left side. I've never tried it. I think it's like an 8-day plus or something like that. And then talking about projects, I think there is one project which still could be possible. But yeah, I haven't really tried. It's basically on the slab there are like 3 routes. There is a Prinzip, Psychogram, and this like sport climb, Dreisiebe. And Psychograms ends like basically at 1/3 of the wall on a big rail. It follows like a thin track till this rail, and then would be possible to just basically do a huge like run out kind of solo on this loopy rail to get to the other side of the slab. But yeah, I don't know if it really makes sense. Every time I used to walk the dog every morning there. So every morning, like I look at it and it's like, oh, maybe one day I should try it, and then maybe not.
When you feel really depressed or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, that's I mean, it's a really big piece of rock but not many lines. But I guess it's really compact and no cracks or anything.
Yeah, exactly. There are basically like these 2 cracks and a few like obvious like rails. But otherwise, it's really compact, and I think it would be possible to maybe do a few other lines if you would be open, okay, with bolting down. But like talking about track climbing, I think it's really tricky.
Would it be okay to bolt there? It's like ethically.
I think so. Like there are other, especially on the right side, there is like a sport climbing crag now. But I don't know. I think I'm okay also with having just 3 lines there, 3 like really obvious lines, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of like forcing too many lines on a piece of rock, especially because they're like kind of really like famous and proud lines. So it feels weird to just put some bolts in between.
Yeah, sure. But on the other hand, if there were like an obvious line that just no possibilities to place any gear, it's still a line, right?
Yeah, but there isn't like an obvious line to bolts, so we'll be more like trying to fit something in between, and I don't know. Maybe I just have to walk the dog like 100 times more, and then I'll find the line.
Yeah, 100 times more. That's what 30 days.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, you were saying that you started competing and you had kind of a successful competition career, but as far as I can see, if I look at the statistics and so on, as soon as you reached your first semifinal at the World Cup, you quit.
I I think it wasn't linked to that. I think it was just I slowly started to realize that competition climbing wasn't what I really wanted to do. Probably because I didn't like I started to enjoy, to discover and to enjoy more just like rock climbing, sport climbing, and bouldering outside. And as I said before, like what I really liked about competition climbing was the training, but not the fact of competing. So when I realized that I could just train for something else and I didn't have to compete, I realized that that wasn't, what I was looking for. And what I also didn't like too much about competing was the fact that I used to travel a lot for comps, but I couldn't really see the places I was traveling to. And so I decided to quit, which wasn't like an easy decision because most of all of my friends were competing, and it was something I was okay at, and it's always like scaring, to quit something you know well for something that for the unknown. So it was an easy decision to take, but once I took it, I was immediately really happy with it, and I just started to travel a lot for rock climbing, trying to understand basically what I wanted to do in climbing. And I first thought it was just like sport climbing or bouldering outside, and then I realized that I was looking for something, let's say, more adventurous, and I got into like multi-pitch climbing, trad climbing, and eventually then to big wall climbing.
So what's your favorite one now? Like what kind of climbing?
That's a good question. I will say trad climbing and big wall climbing. Like these two are definitely my favorite aspects of climbing. But it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy sport climbing anymore. Like for me, it's really important to switch between the disciplines during the year to keep the motivation high. So I really enjoy to still spend a lot of time at gym, like in winter, go sport climbing in spring, then move to trad climbing and big wall climbing during the warmer months. And then when my shape is like really bad, I go back to to the gym and I start everything again.
But you mentioned that you searched for, you need a new challenge, and that's why you moved away from competition climbing basically, and you didn't like competing anyway. But the more you get to become an expert in traditional climbing, big wall, all that, I guess the techniques of placing gear and safety issues is less of a challenge for you. Does that mean that it becomes more a question of challenging yourself in terms of difficulty, like sort of sport climbing in a way, which is only in a way about difficulty?
Yeah, somehow we could say like that. For example, I realized when I started trad climbing, as you say, like the challenge was just like try to understand how to place the gear, how to protect those routes, and then once you become like better at it, you start to look for the next challenge. And for me, it was like trying to bring my sport climbing level or like background into trad climbing. So like be able to climb some really hard like sport routes or like hard moves basically on gear. And then maybe what I really like at the moment is still to do that, but also maybe try to do some routes which are a bit more heady. So where you don't just have to focus on like placing gear and climb hard, but also you have to deal with your fears a bit more. I can't do that all year around, but there are some phases where I really enjoy to do that. And then maybe the next step is kind of to bring that on longer routes. So there is always a next step, you can. That's what I really like about climbing.
But is it mostly during the process or during the actual send go? Like when you climb Rhapsody or when you climb Tribe, are you sort of scared? Or have you reached a point then where you trust the gear, you know what to do, and you just execute?
No, I'm always scared. It's good to be
Okay.
scared, and then it depends, from which route we're talking about. Because there are like some really hard but super safe routes, and there are some other routes which are not so safe. So that's also the cool thing about trad climbing. Most of the people think that trad climbing is something crazy dangerous, but could be way safer than sport climbing. Because if you climb like a perfect splitter track, you can place a cam every centimeters. You decide where to place gear. But at the same time, you can also climb something which is like super dangerous if you fall. So for me, it's like really important. I always say to listen to my fears and try to understand if it's like a rational or irrational fear. If I'm above like 1 meter above a bomber cam and I'm sure that nothing could happen and I'm scared, then I try to overcome this fear. But if I'm in a really dangerous position and I realize that if I fall, I'll just, injure myself really bad, and I realize that I still have the chance to down climb and listen to that fear, then I listen to that fear and I try to end the day like safe, So I think fear, it's something really, really important to have.
But how do you know if you can actually trust your sort of knowledge or instincts? Because I mean, the better you get at placing gear and trusting gear, and you realizing this was okay, this is okay, feels good, feels safe, but you never know, right? How do you know if it's actually you just passed the line and it's not safe anymore? I'm speaking from a non-trad climber's perspective because I don't really know. Like, I get that a lot of placements, it's 100% bomber, but some of them you believe is good.
Yeah, you're never 100% sure. Not always. So you definitely have just to listen to your gut sometimes. Just there isn't like the perfect formula for it, but with the experience, and you kind of understand how to trust the gear more or less, and like you trust your abilities also a bit more. So yeah, but it's true. The reason you can't say 100%. Okay, that's 100% sure and safe or not.
Yeah, it's always the same, I guess. Can you get as psyched for a sport route or boulder problem as you can be for a multi-pitch or trad line?
I think so. Yeah, it's harder for me at the moment to get like really psyched for a sport climb. But if I find the right line and it's the right period of the year, I can be really psyched for it. Especially like in the springtime, as I said, after the winter training, I normally enjoy to just go sport climbing a bit more. And if there is a really cool line that I want to climb, then I can be really psyched for it.
No project now that now you've just been injured, so
okay. No, but at the moment I don't have like a lot of sport climbs in my mind, honestly. There's like a project at one local crag here that I'm trying when I have time, but it's nothing that drives me crazy, honestly. So I still have to find the next big sport climbing goal. It's also, when at the moment I've mostly like traveled for trad climbing or big wall climbing, not so much for sport climbing anymore. And especially like during the COVID time, we spent a lot of time sport climbing around home. So I have the feeling that I've kind of done what I could around here. So I would have to travel for it. So I don't have like a lot of projects around home, which really motivate me.
Would you have been in Arco with Babsi now if you weren't injured?
No, I think the plan was that I will go to a knot and she will go to Arco.
Okay.
But yeah, I spent some time with her now the last, especially like last week when my neck got better and I could belay and climb a bit. So it was really cool actually that I delayed her on her sand. Was really cool.
Can you push your limit in thread climbing, like climbing wise, in the same way like in sport climbing, or is it you climb a bit under your limit if you climb thread?
I think it really depends from the route you're trying. The good thing about sport climbing is that it doesn't matter which grade you're trying. You can always push yourself like to the limit because normally it's safe. And with sport climbing, it's hard to find, especially on the higher end, some really hard sport thread climbs which are safe. So maybe it gets a bit more challenging, I think. And that's why I think also there aren't so many like really hard thread climbs, because it's hard to find something which is really hard possible, but at the same time has enough like gear placements which make basically the route safe.
Which sort of takes us to tribe, because we need to talk about tribe. It's heralded as possibly the hardest trad climb in the world by many. I mean, sort of. I guess Bon Voyage would be there as well, possibly. And I know that you said that you don't want to talk about don't want to give it a grade because that would take away from the actual experience of climbing it and beauty and all that. But don't you think this paradoxically has led to more speculation about the difficulty?
Yeah, maybe, but it wasn't my goal, honestly.
No, of course not.
Like at the beginning, I wanted to grade it, like, because at the time I still used to. Since then, basically, I stopped grading my first ascent. But I was so annoyed by the fact that most of the people like were just like texting me how hard it is, and like the first thing that they asked me when I did it was like, so is it the first XY grade of trad climbing? And I was like, I don't know, and it's like, it's not important to me. For me it was like really a really important process, like climbing process, and I learned a lot from that route. It was silly for me to just break it down to a number, and so that's how the decision came. But it wasn't just to
No, I get that.
marketing purpose. Yeah.
I didn't think that was the purpose, for sure not. But it's sort of it's like if you say don't think about it, don't think about it. Well, what do you think about?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. But it's
it's funny that even like at the moment, every time someone talks with me about tribe, they always ask me like, "Ken, how hard it is now?" It's like I'm not going to grade.
Of course. And the funny thing is that both James and what's his name, the Italian guy? Pietro. Yeah. They're not giving it a grade either because you didn't. So it's like...
that's cool from them. I honestly was expecting for the others to give a grade to tribe, so it wasn't that I was expecting them not to grade it, but I think it's really cool that they haven't, and then they respected my decision. So it's I think it's also like kind of a hard route to grade because it's really condition depending, and it also basically comes down to just a couple of moves, and it's really specific. But yeah.
How would you describe it, actually, the climbing? It's I know I read somewhere that's like it's difficult, it's dangerous 7A plus climbing, and then the actual
and then there's like this 6E plus minus 10. No. Yeah, it's just like kind of run out 6E, 7A, whatever, to an end rest just underneath a roof where the route starts. And then you place some bomber gear underneath the roof, and you have you start climbing on this prow, and you have a first boulder problem, which is like kind of powerful on good slopers with a knee bar, and then you reach this horizontal slopey crack where you have to traverse to the right while placing the gear, and then you have like a okay rest on a slopey like big pocket, and then you have this.
And this gear is okay? It's good?
The gear is good, yeah. The gear is really good, honestly. And then you start like the hard boulder problem, which is just compression on bad holds, and then you have to this like kind of far move from a bad right hand pinch with a high left foot to first like a really tiny 2-finger pocket slot, and then you bump to kind of a good jog. And then from there, you can either just run out, you won't hit the ground, but you can get like really close to the ground, or you place 2 sliders, 2 ball nuts, which are not 100%, and then you do like a really like a easier top out section to get to a ledge. And the original idea for me was to just stop there. Above there's still like this, I think it's called 7B crack, is like another route, which was bolted. So that's why I wanted to stop there, because you can basically lay down on the ledge. But it was really cool that without saying anything, the first ascensionist of that crack stopped the balls of his route just to give me basically a finish. And so I decided to just stop out there, and then you reach the end, the lip of the crack.
That's cool to remove those balls because of that. That's a good gesture.
Yeah, I was like really happy that he did it, especially because of the history of Calareza. You know, it started as a sport climbing crag, and then people realized it was possible to climb on gear there, put up some routes just on gear, start to chop bolts on sport climbs, which got bolted again, and there was this, let's say, war for a couple of years. So I was really pleased that without saying anything, like the local just chopped the bolts. It was really cool.
Do you remember the moment when you realized that the balls were gone? Like, how did it happen?
I think a friend told me that, and then I couldn't really believe it. And when I went there, then I realized it and was like, wow, that's really cool.
Is it important for you to find like more challenging or more harder thread routes for you, like new thread routes?
It would be really nice, but it's hard. You know, it's a hard process, and you need a lot of luck, I think. For what I was saying before, that it's already hard, I think, to find some natural like hard sport climbs, and it's even harder to find such routes which also work on gear and they're not crazy dangerous, you know. And the fact is that I know that I can, if I'm in a good headspace, maybe I can climb a really run out dangerous, I don't know, 8B, 8B plus route if I try it a lot, and I can make sure that I'm not falling off. But with my level, I can't climb, you know, 9A in that style. So if I want to find something like that, which goes on gear, it has to have like kind of a lot of gear placements to make it doable. So it's really hard to find something like that, which maybe also offers some nice climbing.
Yeah. Is it also often a problem that when you find a line that is hard, say, and also possible to protect, that the protection is also actually the holds?
Yeah, exactly. So normally, like, it makes it either like a good hold, and so it doesn't get that hard, or it's tricky then to place the gear because you're holding the gear that hold. Yeah. Maybe from that good hold that is a placement, you move out to a bad hold to climb the next sequence, as you can't place the gear anymore. So the harder the route it gets, the trickier it also becomes to place gear. And just like a lot of maybe those routes who could go on gear and are hard are already bolted too. So it's even harder to find those.
And it wouldn't be interesting to do such a route that is already bolted, to do it on gear?
I used to like to do a few back in the days, just like green-point some hard sport climbs. But maybe for me it was more like at the beginning of my trail climbing career, or path, like a way to test myself and see, how hard I could climb on gear. And it was also like kind of a way, especially like in the Oslo region, where Cadarese used to say, okay, those routes are bolted, but could also work on gear. So before like bolting something similar, maybe think about it twice, and leave it without bolt. And now it feels a bit silly to, I don't know, to invest like a lot of time into try to climb something hard, which is bolted on gear. And it also feels really stupid if you hurt yourself because you don't want to, to clip a bolt. And
True.
I was wondering if you would find harder line than tribe, would you grade it then? Or
I don't think
not?
so. I honestly, like, since I decided not to grade tribe, I stopped grading my first ascents.
But then you would say it's harder than tribe, or like, or because you always compare it because you search for harder lines, obviously, right? So
it's a T plus.
Yeah, T plus, T minus, T plus R. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know.
okay.
Yeah, I should start again. It's just that it makes somehow I have the feeling that makes my life easier. Because you spend a lot of time like trying to do a first ascent, and then you do it, and then you have to give a grade, and then everyone is like, "Oh, but it's like that grade, or it's harder, or it's easier," and like that, you just do it, and it's done. You save your like the experience. Then it's over, and you can just live with that cool experience that you had without having to worry about things.
But are you okay with the fact that I'm saying the fact, but that most people are just assuming tribe is 9A plus?
I don't think it's that hard. I don't know. No, I don't think that no one thinks that it's that hard. But yeah, I don't know.
That's better.
It's not. It's not my problem anymore.
No, it's not. But let's say to finish the projects topic, are there any projects that you have worked on and you've given up on?
Yeah, Bon Voyage at the moment. It's like really kicking my ass.
But you haven't given up, have you?
No, I have a hard time giving up, honestly. That's true. Like I can't think about one project that I've given up. Yeah, probably not yet.
But what's particularly difficult for you on Bon Voyage then?
There's like this really weird like move with a pinkie mono, and I'm really
pinkie,
weak on.
or you could
Yeah, you can do like the index. Like I can't really fit the other fingers. I can fit my pointer or the pinky, and with the pointer it's really weird because you have like to twist it and really hard, and it's really hard on the skin. And I could do the move like that, but I always like got a split in my like a cut in my finger, so I couldn't try it much. And this year I tried with the pinkie mono. I trained a bit over winter, and my pinkies, and I could do the move like that, and it felt way better. Like it's better for the skin, and you can just execute it faster. It just have the feeling that your finger is going to to fall apart, so you the problem with that is that I basically couldn't do all the rest like kind of easily, but not that move, and I couldn't like try that move too much because I had the feeling that I'll get injured. So yeah, that's why I'm having a hard time.
So the idea is basically to train the shit out of the rest of the route and then just go for it once.
Yeah, it what happened basically, because the first time I was there alone. So I could just try on a static line, and I couldn't try that move so much, so I could just work on the rest, and I could do the rest really, really well, but not that move. And this year when I went back, I kind of did the same and work also on the single move. And at the end, it felt kind of okay, and I wanted to go back. Actually, like I plan to go back at the end of April again to give some retries. But yeah, I had to change my plans. So now my plan is if I will go back and my neck will be okay next year, hopefully, I'll just like train a lot my pinkies during winter.
Yeah, and then when you get there, the pink is going to be too big to fit there.
Yeah, or I'll be too weak on all the rest. Let's see.
How do you train the pinky? Do you lift or hang? Or
I lift, but maybe that was the mistake because I have the feeling that I was okay, strong on leaf stand with my pinky, but then when I got there, I realized that I did have to pull on it. So when I got back home, actually, the first day I could still do a little bit something, and it was like my right arm, so it wasn't the injured side, and I kind of like tried to do not a replica, but like with a pulley system, I try to simulate the move, and it definitely worked better, and I think that's what I will do if I want to go back on the route.
It's funny that because I tried now, like just recently, to start working, the pinky and an index, but I think it's so scary because it's so obvious that if I pull the hardest I can, I'm gonna fuck it up. It's like it's obvious.
Yeah,
it's really difficult to train it, but not hard.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a mental training as well. I have the feeling like, and that's why I have to trust your fingers and try to understand how hard you can pull before they break. But yeah, actually in winter I try to train with like low loads, not a lot of weight and just like longer hangs or like longer lifts. But I've never tried to do max hangs or max lifts with the pinky. But you probably started to use your pinky and index because you ran out of weights, right? At the gym. So I saw some crazy stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super strong on that.
I'm just started, but I think though that it's the way forward to become. The problem though with working one finger is that you're gonna get stronger super quickly, but the tendon is not.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I think after many years of climbing, your tendons are probably strong already, but they're not used to like work on in that position. So I think it's really like getting your fingers basically used to that way of pulling.
Yeah, probably.
I really I've neglected that training for 25 years basically. I used to do a lot of, or I've been doing a lot of training of hangboarding in my training, but always like 4 fingers, half crimp, and mostly like max dead hangs. And I had like many finger injuries, and I had this like plateau. And I remember that, for example, on the moonboard, on the first set, what's that, 17 or something like that, don't remember, on the weird like yellow holes, I always had the feeling that my fingers would just break.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, I think, or 2 years ago, I started training with Lattice, and I started to get a lot of exercises just which were focusing on single fingers and like different grips. And since then, like I haven't had a finger injury anymore, and I can really like, I'm not stronger on dead hangs on 4 fingers half crimps, but my fingers are definitely way healthier and stronger on weird holds. So
more versatile, I guess, like different angles and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of weaknesses in training, you mentioned in a podcast that I listened to that you started to stretch more because you were not very flexible. And as a stiff person, I'm sure that you would agree that stretching isn't very fun and that progress is kind of slow. So what do you do to motivate yourself to actually do it?
A good question. I have the feeling that stretching is like running. It's if you don't do it a lot, it sucks. Like if you
Exactly.
never run it,
Yeah.
it's hard to get your shoes on and start running. And once you're getting used to it, then you start to enjoy it, and you need it too. So for me, it's like, especially when I'm at home, I start to enjoy it. It's like a way to relax and to take care of my body. And I'm still like not a flexible person at all. But I reckon that when I stretch like every day, my body just feels better, and my climbing feels better too. Like it feels just like more. I feel like more flowy. Yeah.
And do you stretch your whole body, or do you focus on your legs or shoulders, or well, like?
I started like focusing on my legs or like lower body, and this year I've been doing a lot of exercises also for my upper body, like shoulders and yeah, mostly shoulders, and so I do a mix normally.
Right.
Just have a hard time, when I'm, for example, traveling in a van in winter, and you have to stretch outside. Then I get a bit lazy, and I skipped the stretching sessions.
Is it better to perhaps have a couple of glasses of wine and stretch because you get more relaxed?
Yeah, I'm not a good drinker, so after one glass, I probably like already sleeping. So
Okay.
maybe some tea and
Totally different topic. I realized when we were going to do this interview, I wanted to do some research, so I checked for podcast interviews and so on. I also searched for Wikipedia, and I realized you don't have a Wikipedia page, which for me it doesn't make any sense why Jacopo Larcher don't have a Wikipedia page. But then I started thinking, I mean, it just happens so that your partner and climbing partner is Babsi Sangal, and a lot of things you do together. And since she's the woman and you do the same thing, a lot of the limelight sort of the sort of shines on her. Do you think that, because I think like you're one of the best all-around climbers on the fucking planet, and do you think you would have gotten more recognitions if your partner didn't happen to be Babsi Sangal?
maybe, yeah, could be. But then probably I wouldn't have done a lot of those things, because it's really cool to do all those things together,
Yeah.
So it's always like a balance, I think. But yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I guess it's also in a way, it's also, I guess, nice.
It is really nice, honestly.
Yeah.
It's such a luck, let's say, to to be able to share, not only the daily life with the person you love, but also like your biggest passion, and just be able to travel all around the world, and and live all those experiences together. So it's definitely like really, really cool, and I feel really lucky about it.
So
The downside is this, but like, yeah, I think it really depends from the character also of everyone. Maybe some people would get more stressed about it, some less. Maybe I used to care a bit more, and now I honestly don't care so much.
I think it said a lot on when on Freerider, because you tried the Boulder problem pitch first, right? And you hadn't done your homework, so you didn't know that you're supposed to grab the underclang thing there. And anyway, you fell. That was your only fall on the whole thing, right? But your reaction when you fell, it wasn't like you didn't scream or anything. You're just, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was glad that I had a rope, let's say. But yeah,
yeah, you said that. Yeah.
I think I got really not mad, but like when I top out, and I realized that I basically I lost, or I fucked up my chance. of doing something I really care about, I got really like mad with myself, and like it was hard to accept it. But like in that moment, honestly, maybe it also felt like a bit of like a release because of all the extra pressure I had. And it's also, we had an amazing time on the wall with the people who were filming, so they definitely didn't like add any stress. But it's different, if you try to do something like that and then you arrive on the crux beach and and there are like 3 people hanging above you filming, and it's like, okay, it's a bit of extra pressure. So when I fell, it was like, okay, the pressure is over now. I can just enjoy climbing and focus on climbing on the route, but not having to deal with the pressure anymore. And I get to support Babsi, so it was pretty natural to react like that. After, like, as I said, when we topped out and the day it's after, it got a bit harder to digest.
Yeah. But before that, was it sort of, because it's better to climb second. Like your chances are better chances to get like the perfect beta if you climb second, right? So was it like you wanted the other one to go first all the time, like because you like subconsciously, like you wanted, like when you come to the crux pitch or one of the difficult pitches, like maybe Babsi could go first, and she was like, maybe Jacopo he should go first.
I mean, of course, you would be happy. You're happy if you're second, if you can go second. But we decided that before starting to start climbing, so it was clear like she will lead the monster offroute, which I was also really happy that she did, because as I said, offroute climbing is not my strength. And I will lead the Boulder problem. So on the paper, it also sounded good to me. It was like, okay, it's like, I don't know, it's like 70 plus face climbing. Sounds better than 7A plus or whatever offroute. And it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, it ended up to be a big problem. Yeah.
But had you watched the footage many times of Alex on it or other people on it?
Yeah, I definitely did. Like I watched Free Solo a couple of times before, but maybe it's also a way of kind of a way of self protection. To not have too much pressure. Like I didn't try to memorize every single like foothold or whatever. So I knew that you had like these thumb holds to get to this slopey thing, and then you had to kick the foot to the left and grab an undercling. But I didn't realize that there was like a pin scar underneath. Or so when I got there, I remember that in my mind I had this image of like Alex like pulling in a certain way, and I couldn't generate. And I was like, what's going on? Like, and I couldn't understand how to do it, and I fell. And I was really bummed when I realized that there was this pin scar underneath. I mean, I'm sure you can climb it also in another way, but for me, like there was no way to generate the way I had that hold. So I definitely felt a bit stupid. Yeah, when
I don't know if it's gonna make you feel any better, but when I watched you on it and you like, oh shit, this was his pin scar and all that, I was like, I don't remember this undercling from because I've watched Free Solo a few times anyway. So I went back to watch it, and I watched it, and I was like, I'm sure there's no any. And then you can actually see he's grabbing the undercling, and I hadn't seen that before, because my impression was also that it has this thing, this loaf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was the
I don't
same.
think
like
he mentioned. I don't think he mentions it.
No, he didn't mention it on in the movie, and that's why like I knew that you had to like get this sloper and turn the end a bit, and I tried. Like I think you can see it in the video, but I couldn't like find a way to grab it properly, and then I like kind of started panicking basically, and got stuck and fell there.
Yeah.
About a free solo. What about you and free soloing?
Freerider? No way.
Right?
No way. No way. It's crazy what Alex did, honestly. And
Yeah, that's for
it's actually
sure.
actually when you climb on the route, I had the same when we climbed the fish in Station Marmolada.
Mhm.
You know, Answer did it.
Mhm.
And if you think while climbing that someone like did it free solo before, you start to freak out even more. You know, at the beginning I thought, okay, while climbing, you think that someone did it free solo. It probably makes you feel like safer or like it's like,
Mhm.
okay. But actually, you freak out even more. It's crazy, especially like the slabs on Freerider, the Free Blast. They're
Yeah.
not hard, but a lot of places you don't have any handholds. You're just like smearing your feet on this glassy granite, and it feels like sketchy when you have like the bolt just next to you. I
Mhm.
don't want to try to imagine how it feels when you don't have a rope. And even like the upper part, the Boulder problem, of course, is like it's also a really low percentage, and it's crazy. The rest of the route, I can imagine that if you're really good like track climber and you work on it, you can feel kind of safe on it. But for example, the last part, you climb this enduro corner. It's like this really long corner, and then at the end, so it's really pumpy. If you free solo it, you skip the anchor, you don't have a no hand stance for basically 4 pitches, and it gets super pumpy, and then you have to climb this traverse on really exposed traverse on slopers, and yeah, it's crazy what he did.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
what I meant, it's like generally free solo.
Okay.
So
Uh,
like,
I did a few things like back in the days. I went through a phase where probably I don't know. I think for me free solo it's a bit linked to period in my life when I'm not maybe doing 100% like well. So I went through
okay.
phases where I free soloed a few routes. But yeah, it's not something that I enjoy now. Yeah.
So not so happy place for you then.
It could be a happy place like on really easy routes,
Yeah.
maybe, but I don't know. For me, like at the moment, climbing is also really linked with like sharing the experience with someone else. So it doesn't feel natural, to free solo something.
Mhm.
What I do sometimes is like rope solo, and I just like spend some time, some longer days alone at the crag or in the mountains. Just like not a lot of time, not a lot of days during the year, but sometimes I do enjoy it. And sometimes it happened that while rope soloing, I'm just asking what I'm doing here, alone on, on this world. I could like climb with Babsi or with a friend, and sometimes I bail, and it's just like, okay, just go down. And yeah.
And about soloing, and I guess that you mentioned before that not in this podcast, but before that you like to get out of your comfort zone. That's sort of what you in a way live for. Is this something that applies to your life outside of climbing as well?
I would say yes. Like I like to just try, new things, and I like to be a beginner in stuff again, just because of what I was saying, the beginning of the podcast, the fact of that when you're beginner at something, you have a big margin of like improvement, so you
Mhm.
can improve fast, and you can learn a lot, and I really like that feeling. So I do like to, like go with skiing, or like now with paragliding. I really, at the moment, I'm really spending a lot of time like flying because it's something completely new for me. It's like a new scene, a new like element, and there's so much to learn, and it's something that really motivates me.
You also, a few years back, you wrote a book.
Hmm. That was like
Which,
really out of my comfort zone. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say that. Unfortunately, I don't think you can get it in English.
No,
Only
I think
in
it's
German, right?
I think it's German and Italian at the moment.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, it was like it was actually just after Ascent Tribe. I just got basically the opportunity to do it through a publisher, and I just felt like I needed to take that opportunity. And but yeah, it was nice because when you have to write something like that, you can reflect a lot on
Mhm.
on your life, on what you have done, and on your path, which was nice. But it felt really weird, at that age, with my character, like to write something about myself. It felt weird, and somehow it still does. I'm not. I don't do a lot of advertisement for that book, honestly. Maybe I should do it more, but yeah. I'm glad that I did it, but I'm not the thing I'm most proud of.
But did you write it? What was the process like? Did you write it all by yourself? Did you have a ghostwriter? Or...
No, I did have a ghostwriter, and I wrote a few like some chapters by myself, and then he kind of like put them together. And I used to write kind of a lot of journals during like trips, so I used a lot of those journals for them, basically for writing the book. But he, like this ghostwriter Angelo, did like 99% of the job. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't too hard of a work for me.
I'm going to guess that 99% is a slight exaggeration there.
I guess so.
You did a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but yeah, like the actual, writing, like, yeah, he did most of them. But we spent a lot of time together, just doing interviews, and I wrote stuff that then he like correct and like basically edited.
Is it? You say sorry? Is it in Italian or German?
It's both Italian and German. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I will read it then.
I can give you a copy the next time we meet.
About that, I have a question from I think it was Igge, whose question was, what is your favorite genre in books, or who's your favorite writer?
I'm not reading a lot now, honestly. Like in the last years, I've been really busy. I am not taking the time for reading at the moment. But back in the days, I used to read a lot, and my favorite author is Hermann Hesse. And I really like this book, Narciso and Boccadoro. I don't know the name in English. It's like Narcis and Goldmund. It's like the story, of this, like basically the different approach to life, like the one who studies a lot, like from the books, and that's his approach, like to learn and experience life, and the other person just like travels a lot and learns like by traveling, and yeah.
Narcis und Goldmund.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
So you are like 100% professional climber. That's your job.
Kind of like I could live of climbing at the moment, but I really like to have kind of a plan B and C, not to feel like too linked to the brands, even if they're like super supportive, and I've never like felt any pressure from them. But I still work a lot as a route setter, so that's my main job. I used to be to work just at one gym back in the days. I was hired by the gym, and then I just decided to quit and just work as a freelancer. And now I mostly just set for comps and training camps, and I'm an IFSC route setter, so set for World Cups, and it's nice because I can plan my year in advance, and I have a lot of free time. And even if it's still linked to climbing, for me it's something different from my way, my life as an athlete. So it's like going to a normal work, let's say, even if I don't really see it as a work, because it's still like a big passion of mine. and especially, you know, when you set comps, it always feels like somehow going to war because it's super, it's hard, but somehow like going on a trip mostly with friends. So it's like a really tiring trip, but yeah.
And do you do anything? Do you do anything special to keep up with, you know, new styles and the development of competition climbing? I mean, it's quite different to big wall, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I just set basically. Try to set as much as I can, or I mean, as much as I can, as much like as I can, you know, find a balance between my life as a professional athlete and as routsetter, because it's easy to just like slide on one side or on the other. And at the moment, I'm setting mostly like for the important comps. I'm mostly setting lead. So it's of course the style is also changing in lead, and it's nice to try to offer and push the style, different styles, like push the styles a bit, but it's less different from what you climb outside compared to modern like bouldering comps.
Definitely.
Do you follow the World Cup circuit, or
yeah? I mean,
or?
I watch. I don't like to watch like the live streams too much, honestly. I shouldn't say it, but I I find it quite boring. But I definitely like always check, you know, the results and check some just some recaps of the different comps, and like try to talk to the other setters to see you know, how the comps went, because a lot of times you look at the result and it looks like the perfect comp, and then you talk to the people, and especially to the setters, and from like a setter point of view it definitely wasn't, and the other way around. So and definitely like really into checking that, and I think it's an important part as of the routsetter work as well, you know, because you always have to know like the level of the climbers. What was, you know, it's not that you know the level of the climbers just watching the results, but you know, it's important just to be updated all the time. Yeah,
for sure. You need to watch them to realize what is difficult, what is easy for them.
exactly.
Yeah.
And also try to understand, you know, like on the previous World Cup, for example, how hard was one round compared to the other, and yeah. And then I do a bit of photography too, like based on like phases in my life and motivation. But yeah,
like climbing or climbing photography, or
yeah, climbing photography. Yeah.
What kind of camera do you have?
Canon 5D Mark III, a really old one. I made a mistake. I wanted to switch to the R system, and you know, I waited too much, and now all my gear is like worth nothing basically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, that's a story of our lives, right? So
yeah.
You have been part of the Red Bull Dual Ascent, right? Like 2 years ago in. How was it for you? The comp, was it the year when it was too hot, or it was rainy? I don't.
It definitely was hot. Like in the sun,
yeah, that was the hot
was
one.
crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
It was the year where everyone got sick.
Yeah,
It was like
exactly. This one,
so yeah, it was like kind of epic, because I was supposed to climb with Babsi, but then she got sick, and then there was Niels Favre. He was like the joker basically, in case someone would get sick, and everyone got sick, so I didn't know who he would have to climb. And then he climbed with me, and he also got like super sick during climbing, probably because of the heat
he
or
threw
something.
up, right? So
yeah, and he almost threw up on me, and I remember that I was you know, I was like hanging at a belay with like this really short sling, and and looked down to me and was like, "Oh, I'm throwing down." I was like, "What are you throwing down?" It's like, "No, I'm throwing up." It's like, and yeah, that's not the best experience on that side, but otherwise it was a really cool experience. Actually, I was really skeptical at the beginning. I was like, not sure if I want to, you know, to participate, and because it felt like something forced a bit, you know, like big wall climbing comps on a dam. But actually, it was really fun, and the route was really good. It was really cool. The setters did a good job. It was just like a fun crew, and I actually wanted to do it again the next year, but then I was in Yosemite, I think.
Which is not bad as well.
Yeah. But it was a pleasant event, honestly. It was like was fun. It was cool.
And how much do you bench?
What? I have no idea, honestly. I never do it. It's something that I really never do.
Never?
Really never. What I do sometimes if with just, not the like with two weights, not with just one, just for the shoulders. Yeah.
Barbell press.
But just like not with a lot of weight, more reps, just in winter to get a bit stronger. Maybe I'm a bit scared because I remember when I used to compete, like when I think I was like 16 or 17, I got like a training plan from my trainer, and I went to the local gym as a skinny little kid, and they were like all these like huge like bodybuilders, and I remember that I went in my little corner and I tried to bench press, and I got like stuck underneath the things. And I remember that it was like the owner of the gym was like this massive guy, and I just arrived and I grabbed the weight with just one hand and just like pull it off. I was like, okay, I stopped.
How many one-armers can you do?
Now 0. And when I'm in a good shape, maybe 3 or something like that. Yeah, 3, 4.
Both hands, like left, right, same.
Yeah.
And pistol squats?
Maybe 1. It depends. Like after the winter, maybe more. If it's like a good winter for skiing, or like if I ski a lot, and at the end of the fall, like after Yosemite, maybe 1 with a little bit of help.
With help, okay.
Spending time on the portage isn't the best for your legs.
But do you train your legs consciously? Like
no. Like I don't do any like power training, let's say, for the legs, but I do a lot of running. Like especially in summer, I run a lot. I really enjoy it. But yeah, it's not.
What does it mean, a lot?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I try to run maybe like every second day at least. Like trail running, or since I start flying, I do a lot of just like hike and fly. So I just like hike up really fast uphill, and then I fly down. And in winter, I do a lot of ski touring normally. Like this winter, I didn't do it because I wanted to focus more on training. And if you have the feeling that if you run and ski tour a lot, it needs a lot of energy. So it's hard then to train like at the gym properly. And with the age, it gets harder too.
You need to stop talking about age, please.
with us at least.
I thought it was like a smart decision. I was like, okay, this year, I just like focus on training a little bit more, and I ski, but I don't do too much ski touring or running. But yeah, at the end, I got injured, and so now what I can do is run.
And how much do you lift on the 20 millimeters?
Maybe half of what you lift.
No, you lift more,
really?
For sure.
No, like I don't do like max lifts, so I normally do more like 7 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that.
Like more endurance style.
More endurance style, and so I think like 65, like for 10 seconds, something like that. I've never actually tried to do like max.
But that's
lifts.
Probably pretty good, because I guess your body weight is less than that.
That's 65 basically.
It's the same. Okay,
yeah, it's kind of the same. Yeah,
it's like that's like Björn. He's lifting 117 and he's 117 about, so
more or less.
Just sounds like a lot. No.
Yeah.
I just started actually to do lifts since I basically with lattice training. Before I had never done them, and I still have a kind of a hard time like lifting a lot of weight. I have the feeling that it's not so healthy for my back and for my arms. I don't know. Maybe just because I'm more used to just dead hangs, so I enjoy that more. So now when I do lifts, I normally do like longer, longer hangs, but with less, or longer lifts, but with less weight.
That's interesting because I have the feeling that I should probably not say this, but for me, lifting feels way more safe than hanging, like for shoulder and fingers as well.
I think it's more maybe just because I've been like hangboarding for like such a long time, and I'm really used to it. Maybe
Probably.
because of that. But it's funny to see how different it is. For example, when I lift, I'm like way stronger with my right hand compared to my left hand, and when I hang, it's the other way around. So it's really weird.
I think it's probably good to do both.
Yeah.
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 And I have one last question that I got from Instagram here, from some guy. Do you still climb?
Who's this guy? Last guy. I know him, but yeah, I do. Today I climbed. I'm super stoked that I could climb again.
Awesome.
Yeah, but what has changed, I think, is that for many years I've been just focused on climbing because I was worried that all the other stuff that I like to do would just, take too much energy away from climbing. And many years ago, I realized that it wasn't, or maybe it was the case, but doing other stuff also gave me like so much more motivation then, and so I really enjoy to do other stuff as well. And maybe I climb a little bit less, but when I climb with more like energy and motivation. Yeah.
That's probably a good lesson for everyone to take home.
Yeah. So I have like one more question there. What's your favorite activity like out of the climbing?
I think at the moment it changes a lot. At the moment is paragliding definitely. It's especially now that I couldn't climb like the last month. I invested basically all of my time into flying. And it started as an activity to do on the rest days. That was the idea, and now it's taking a bit more energy and time than planned. But, yeah.
So no crash so far?
Yeah, I crashed. I broke my wrist.
Okay.
But it's nothing too bad. It healed up quite fast. It was like 2 years ago, I think. I felt dumb, to get injured as a professional climber doing something else. But it's funny, like while climbing, I'm really lucky. I've never had like big injuries, like finger injuries, now this thing, but I've never had like big crashes. And every time I got bigger injuries, or like slightly bigger injuries, were like doing other sports, like skiing or flying.
Yeah, so hopefully no more injuries in the future for you, yeah?
Yeah, or small ones.
Small ones.
Yeah. Because I mean, injuries that's part of the game, I guess. Like you will have small injuries, but nothing major.
I did, and as I said, like as long as the injuries are small, I think sometimes they're also good because your body can just recover, or like in a certain way you can focus on other stuff. And for example, when I broke my wrist, I couldn't like really focus on stretching and other stuff, and when I have finger injuries, I can just focus on just like power training. So you can always do something.
Thank you so much, Jacopo. It was nice talking to you, and really appreciate it.
Pleasure to have you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully
at some comps, probably.
Are you going to any comps this year?
I'm setting Innsbruck and Seoul.
So then, if then Seoul, because I just cancelled Innsbruck now because I have some work to do. So
I'll be there for I think 3 weeks or something like that. It's like,
okay, yeah,
Oh, wow.
World Championship is always like
yeah, long.
a long.
So anyway, thanks again and take care. Hope to
Thank you.
see you.
See you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.